All right, Nick, it is finally here. We are starting to deep dive into some of the best players that college football had to offer over the last few years. Now entering the NFL draft, the 2022 NFL draft is set to take way at the end of April. We will be there live and in person for day one of the draft. I am very, very excited to be able to bring that to you guys. But we got to talk about some of these players, and starting off with arguably the best player to enter the draft this year, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Kayvon Thibodeaux is one of the most disruptive pass rushers we've seen come out of college in just a few years. I mean, this guy is on top of his game and has been part of absolutely everything that Oregon was surrounded by. Kayvon Thibodeaux enters the draft at 6'5", 258 pounds, with a PFF rank of the number 2 edge defender in this draft. And his pro comp, according to Nick, was Von Miller. To me, he looks a little bit more like Jadeveon Clowney, but he has the bend of TJ Watt. He has that finesse ability, which I really like, and we'll dive deeper into that in just a little bit. Talking about his career stats, he was a 3-year player at the University of Oregon, played a total of 20 games. He does have a rich injury history, which is something to watch out for. A total of 126 tackles, 35 and a half of which were tackles for loss. He had 19 sacks, 7 passes defended, and 3 forced fumbles. This guy was an absolute monster, and he was just something you did not want to see any single day. Nick, tell us a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses of Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Yeah, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeaux, he was incredible at Oregon, especially in his freshman season, where he really came onto the scene and made himself known. And he has a litany of strengths, but the key ones that we want to talk about, he is one of, if not the most dangerous pass rushers coming off of the edge. This guy can do it all. As you said, he has the bull rush ability of Jadeveon Clowney. He has the reach and the stretch like TJ Watt. This guy can finesse around you as well. He has all the tools in his toolbox to get the job done. He is going to make the lives of left tackles and right tackles miserable for the next decade, because this guy will do exactly what your weaknesses is, because he is elite at every part of his game. This guy is the real deal. He is the full package. This is no bluff. This guy has been legit for the last 3 years and has not deviated from that level. He is going to come and play at this level in the NFL. It's time for us to get on board. Another big strength of his, he's quick, he's disruptive, and he's instinctive. He can pick up on what an offensive line is doing. He can pick up on what the quarterback's tendencies are. He can understand what kind of a play is coming his way and how to tackle it the best. He knows whether he needs to drop into run support or whether he can go full steam ahead and get around these left tackles, these right tackles, and really make the quarterback's lives hell. This guy is exactly what you don't want to see as a quarterback. His weaknesses, as you mentioned, he does lack a little bit of length. He is 6'5", but he doesn't have the reach ability like someone of that stature. He may have a little bit of an issue with some of the taller, lengthier left and right tackles. So I think that could hurt him a little bit, but I believe that his raw ability will take him the rest of the way. And then he did miss some time due to injuries, specifically in his sophomore season, his junior season. He did miss some time due to some ankle injuries, but he was able to come back for those bowl games and compete for Oregon. So I think that even though he does have somewhat of an injury history, he's still able to come back. He's still willing to make that effort and play for his team, because that's how much he loves the sport.
Absolutely, and that's something you want to see from a top overall prospect. I remember this guy being a 5-star recruit coming out of high school and choosing the University of Oregon. This guy has been a disruptive pass rusher since as far as I can remember, and he has brought it to every single level of football he's been able to, and now he's heading into the NFL. Nick, let's talk about some of the potential teams that he could end up winding up on, and we start off with the number 1 overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars have one of of the best front sevens in football right now. We saw Miles Jack and Josh Allen really getting after quarterbacks. We saw this defensive line holding up against some of the best running teams in the NFL. Kayvon Thibodeaux would give them so much more of an advantage, opening up those guys to be one-on-one, and they could really pin their ears back. You would not be able to double team anybody on the edge of this team, and it would give the Jaguars one hell of a pass rush to work with.
Another potential suitor would be the number 2 draft pick, the Detroit Lions. If he does not go number 1, and I will be surprised if he does not go number 1, he will fall into the lap of the Detroit Lions, which is exactly what Dan Campbell wants, because we saw that defense have a fire underneath them last year. They will become a legitimate defense next year if they get this guy. He would be incredible under Dan Campbell.
At number 3, we have the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans, honestly, picking after the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. So if he falls in their lap, they are getting Jadeveon Clowney 2.0 with a little bit bend of the TJ Watt that we talked about. They are getting the pass rusher that they gave up on over the last couple of seasons. They will finally have that person to really add to this defensive line. The problem is they have to have a coach that's going to be wanting to work with Kayvon Thibodeaux, that's going to help groom him into the perennial all-pro that we expect him to be. The Houston Texans have to get their head coaching prospect right first, and then they can worry about Kayvon Thibodeaux.
And if somehow he makes it out of the top 3, he'll go number 4 to the New York Jets, because that edge rush was abysmal last year. They need to work on this defense. CJ Mosley cannot do the job by himself, and they need to be able to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. Robert Saleh missed that from his 49ers days when he came over. He wants that type of player. He groomed Nick Bosa. He can do the same with Kayvon Thibodeaux. You can only imagine what that connection would be like. So the New York Jets would be a great landing spot and one of the best potential suitors for Kayvon.
Absolutely. These are just 4 teams we fully expect to be all in on Kayvon Thibodeaux. Should he make it past the number 1 overall pick, we expect him to go in that order. I think that these are all teams that would benefit greatly from Diesel himself, Kayvon Thibodeaux. At the end of the day, we're going to bring you guys draft profiles for all of the top 50 or so draft prospects that we expect to come out of the 2022 NFL draft. They will come out in sporadic order, so feel free to jump around and kind of take down all of the profiles that we have here for you. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.